Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm dressed in a most peculiar fashion. I'm wearing chainsaw boots for chainsawing. Ooh, don't want to get stung. I'm wearing gloves, followed by more gloves because it's cold. Wearing this hat and headphones, listening to an audiobook. But this is genuinely my setup. It's genuinely how I like to do it. Always listen to an audiobook. Good to pass the time a bit. Because I've got so many hives that it gets a bit monotonous by the time you've got to the 50th. So anyway, what I'll be showing you today is how to treat your bees with Api-Bioxal solution. Now this is a really useful treatment in killing phoretic varroa mites. And phoretic means mites living on the bee, not in the brood, okay? So it's quite a specific treatment. It can only be used at specific times, and times of the year I mean, not times of the day. But it's quite specific, and this kind of weather is perfect. It's nice and cold, got a bit of a frost. The bees won't be producing as much brood anymore. There might be a little bit, but as long as the treatment works to a good efficacy, it's fine to have a little bit of brood. But point being, it's frosty and the bees are in a cluster, which means that, I mean, this is just my opinion, I don't have anything to base it on, but the fact that the bees are all clustered together, when you trickle the treatment on, because they're all close and moving slowly, the treatment will fall through the bees slower and stay with them longer. So it won't reach the floor where it's not doing anything as quick. It should try and stay within the bees, and that's how the treatment works, in contact with the bees, and they spread it around. So what we're going to be doing is we're just going to be treating, well, I'm going to do all of these hives, but I'm going to show you on a couple of them. I'm wearing gloves because this is a chemical, obviously, and yeah. So it's very cold this morning, and these hives here, these are actually all for sale. So all of these nukes here are for sale. So if you are nearby in East Devon sort of area, then this might be good for you. Just got stung on my wrist yesterday and it was quite painful. So just try and make sure everything's all sealed up. So ideally you don't want to disturb them for too long, but as I say, this treatment is necessary, and as it's nice and cold, it should keep less bees flying up. Wow, that hive is completely full to the brim. By putting it on the roof, we mean that it means that if the queen is on the underside of the crown board, she's not going to fall onto the floor. She's going to stay nice and toasty there, and I actually do look at the crown board after to see if the queen is there. Very unlikely, but she might be. So you just want to be super careful when you're putting it back, okay? So I'll move the camera a bit closer so you can see what's going on a bit more. But this beehive is completely full to the brim with bees, and so on nearly all of the frames you've got a honey frame here, but all the other ones are full with bees, and the treatment is 5 milliliters per seam of bees. So a seam of bees is the gap in which the bees live. Think of it as the bee space. And these little cartons are actually quite annoying because my syringe isn't long enough to reach into the bottom. So as the liquid goes down, I have to tip each bit out into the lid because I don't have a bigger container and suck it up. So that's roughly 5 milliliters. What we do is we just trickle it in the gap. As you can see, the bees are a bit feisty. It's a bit cold, but if we leave them to it, they will settle down. And the way I think about it is this beehive isn't angry. They've just got more bees in there. So the proportion of bees that are going to be a bit tetchier is higher, because you always get tetchy bees in a hive. There's always going to be some bees that are a bit angrier than others, and it's just a case of being slow movements and being careful with them. as I say, when you disturb them, they automatically get a bit tetchier, a bit angrier, more flighty. But actually these bees are really calm. As you can see, they're pretty chilled out. So we just administer this treatment, and as I say, this is a small little syringe, and it goes well with it because it's 5 millilitres, this syringe, and we just put it on each seam of bees, and that's how the treatment works. It's a very simple treatment. As I say, it just kills the phoretic mites, and it works. I think it works literally instantly. I think it works pretty fast, within a few hours, I think. I will also be removing any varroa treatments that are left in here. So any Api-Var strips that are left here, I will be taking those out now, because you don't want the Api-Var strips in too long, because otherwise there's small amounts of the chemical left, and the mites, with prolonged exposure to it, supposedly get resistance to the chemical. So I'll be taking those out as well. It's actually quite a well-timed treatment to take out your Api-Var strips as well. So it's quite actually convenient, is what I would say. The only thing is, I can't remember always which seam of bees I'm on. So I have to sort of guess a bit. I think I was on this one. I can't always remember exactly which one I'm on. But I'm sure you can do it a faster way. I'm sure there's a bigger syringe, but I wouldn't know what I'm putting into each seam. And I quite enjoy just listening to my audiobook actually. Doing this, it's pretty chilled out, to be honest, except for when I get stung. Yeah, what happened yesterday is a bee crawled down here, and obviously the material pushed against the bee, and the bee got stressed, and then it stung me through the cuff of the glove, and the sting just about nicked me, but it wasn't actually too bad. Bees are always angrier in winter. They never want you to come around disturbing them. There's no honey flow on. They're not happy chappies. But actually these bees aren't too bad. They're pretty chilled out. And as you can see, it's a big cluster. So like I was saying, you're always going to get a amount of slightly more tetchy bees in here. A proportion of them will be a bit angrier, but on the whole, they're actually really chilled out. So because the temperature's dropped so suddenly now, I think it's time to do the treatment, because the bees won't be having as much brood in the hive. So I did a video back along, probably a week ago I think, saying don't do the treatment yet, and that is right. It depends on where you are, but down here we're getting quite cold weather already. So I decided to bring it forward, and I might have to treat them twice with this, because it matters to me a lot how well the bees get through the winter, because that will be how strong they are in the spring, how viable they are to split. I always do this over the top. I don't know why. I think it just covers them a bit better. Tops of the frames, just an extra little bit. So we're basically done on this hive here. So what we're going to do is we're going to lift this up carefully, have a look for our queen. Can't see her. Nope, she's not there. They're all marked, so they're quite easy to see. What we're going to do is we're not going to put this down straight away. We're just going to hold it for a minute and let the bees walk away from underneath it. So we try and let the bees out. We don't want to squash any. Generally they'll move, a little bit of pressure and they'll move, and you can sort of tell when there aren't many there. So that actually looks alright. Also we're going to check in here for the queen, because as you can see a few bees get in the roof, and the most important thing at this time of the year is not losing your queen. It's alright if you lose the queen in April, it doesn't matter at all. You can buy a new one, you can let them make a new one, whereas now, if you lose your queen now, your hive's doomed. So this is sort of we disturb them as little as possible, but again, it's for the good of the treatment and of the entire hive for them to be treated. So just check myself for bees. There we are. And there we are. So that hive is actually done. See if you can see my face. So this hive is actually done for that treatment. Got a bee on my head. This hive is completely finished. What I will do is I will do one more, just so you get an idea of the size of the hives, how well they're doing, and what my setup is for these bees. Just put this little bee back in the entrance. There we are. Keep it nice and secure. So as you can see, we've got fondant packs here. I'll move the camera a bit closer because I'll not be able to see quite as well. That should be alright. But we've got fondant packs here. They are eating through the fondant. Just going to take off the crown board. So this part of the hive is the crown board. Got to be careful. It does suddenly sort of pop off there. So this hive here is, I would have said, nearly as big as the other one. Not quite to the same size, but they are still doing really well. As you can see, all this burr comb is here. You don't want to go scraping that off, just leave it now. You might accidentally kill the queen. As I say, the main fear is that you kill the queen. Now the good thing about this treatment is it adjusts to the size of the hive. So you can see this hive is slightly smaller than this one, and therefore we give it less treatment because there's less seams of bees. So as you can see, we just... But I always find it's actually helpful just to let the bees have a couple of minutes just to sort themselves out when you've cracked off the crown board. Just for them to calm down a little bit, and then just do the treatment slowly. There's no need to do it fast. Actually, I've just had a brilliant idea. If I use this bottle and then tip the rest of this into this, it won't take me as long to tip out all the thing into each cup. That's how you solve problems. But as you can see, it's quite a quick treatment. Yeah, they got a bit angry there. You can see as I came close to them, they all sort of flew up a bit. So we just, if you're a beginner, just take a step back. Just, you know, take it chill. They'll go back to the entrance in a minute. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hold my hand a bit further away from the hive so they don't get annoyed with me as much. So I'm going to drop it down on them. And I'm just doing this nice and slow. No need to rush. Each colony is equally as important. So we have to take our time on each one. You know, just go through it methodically, really. There we are. Now we're going to check under the crown board for the queen. As I say, we don't want to squash the queen. Actually quite useful with the sunlight when it's quite bright. Whatever you do, don't kill the queen. So we have to put this down super gently. And because there's lots of bits of comb, there's always a bit more chance that we might kill her. But I did check the top, but we just sort of lift it up and down to get them out of the way. And you're always going to squash a few, but you try and minimise it a bit with being nice and slow and gentle, sort of looking what you're doing as well. Always quite important to be aware of what you're doing. Actually, the most time-consuming thing, actually, is doing up all these bloody straps. Takes quite a long time, actually. But as I say, I just like to do it nice and slow, really. See if I can tip this in here. There we go. Empty. Just take your time sorting through. I actually came down here and realised I need to go and get some more of these bottles because I haven't got enough to do all of these here. Bit too many hives to do all of them. What we're going to do is we're going to do a nuke. I'm going to show you how to do a nuke. I'm nearly running out of time on the video. The SD card's nearly full, but see how it goes. So the nukes, these are double brooded nukes. They are quite big. Oh, I can hear a buzz. So these are nice sized nukes. As I say, double brood, so most of the bees will be downstairs. There's actually varroa treatment here that hasn't been removed, so I'll take the chance now to actually take it out. Just nice and slowly as well, because if the queen was there, we don't want to roll her, damage her. Slip these off. Bit clunky today, because I'm wearing like thermal gloves under plastic gloves, because it's so cold, but they're doing pretty well actually. Pretty full. One frame here that's not been drawn out, but as I say, it's good to have that because next spring I might not get around to all of them in time. So if you've got one empty frame here, they'll expand across that in a few days, be completely full. But a hive like this is primed to, you know, massively expand come the spring. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this back on here, very slowly, letting the bees out if we can. There we go, and we're going to take off the top brood box. Jesus. Nice and secure, but as you can see, this nuke is completely full to the brim. They are bubbling with bees. But same again with the treatment. We just go along. They're getting a bit angry because we've separated boxes and they don't like that. As I say, they will move back to the entrance. It's interesting actually how this colony is a very big colony, but all focused on the right hand side of the box. Not as many bees on the left. It's literally just a case of doing this for each one. As you can see, they were a bit angry to start with, but they've sort of calmed down now. You can't really overdo it with this treatment, I found. The bees don't have any particularly adverse effects to it. I'm going to do a couple more because they're so big. Do a couple more. Ooh. But we want to treat them to the best of our ability. Also, I think it helps move the bees down inside the hive if we squirt them with it. We just don't want to crush all of these ones. So what we do now is we put back on the top box, and then we'll do the same for the top box. And again, not putting it down, just holding it up, letting the bees move from underneath it, and then letting it fall down flat on the bottom of the box. Just shut this to calm them down. As you can see, if you just take a step back, for a minute, and the bees will automatically go back to the entrance and calm down quite a lot, actually. Just a few bees on here. But that is about it for this video. If you want to, if you're interested in any of these nukes, then these are available for sale come the spring. They'll be a lot more chilled out then. They don't like being disturbed in the winter. They're always going to be a little bit tetchier. It's just how they are. They're not as happy. They want to cluster down, stay secure throughout the winter. They don't want to have people like me disturbing them, listening to audiobooks and whatever else I'm doing. But that is about it for this video. If you liked it, please hit the subscribe button, share it, like it, whatever else, and I'll see you next time.